about insurance. And today we're actually going to be speaking about cyber liability. Actually, let me present myself. My name is Sarah, and
my name is Gary Smalley. We represent Fountain Risk Management. We're a fully licensed property and casualty brokerage located in the heart of Manhattan's Tribeca area. Today we're going to be talking about cyber insurance. Now, Sarah, something really big happened in the news a few days ago.
I mean, a lot of things happened,
Yes.
but with insurance,
Yes.
it was Yahoo who was actually in the spotlight this week, with 500 million users being with the information being stolen from Yahoo. So going back a little bit with a little bit of the details, so Yahoo has confirmed that 500 million users' account were stolen. Which actually the information that was actually stolen was email address, date of birth, telephone numbers, and encrypted passwords. So if you have a security question, you might as well change that because the hacker has their hands on that. And then according to Bruce Schneider, and he's a cryptologist, he says that this is the biggest cyber hacking in history. So we are looking at the problem not diminishing, actually getting bigger in size. And CNN Money Market said that the breach was only discovered because the hacker's name is pretty funny. Peace said that he's actually selling 200 million of that information to whoever is willing to pay for that information. And he's the same hacker that also hacked LinkedIn and MySpace. So Gary, I know that we were looking at that were also other big companies that also have been hacked. Can you name some of them?
Yes, so over the past several years, cyber breaches have been tremendously increased. Now, why is this happening? Because, stealing someone's information is a lot different than walking into a bank with a gun and being brazen and saying, hey, give me the money. So someone can sit back in their home, in a Starbucks, or anywhere there's a Wi-Fi connection, and over time gain access to your computer system. So some companies that have been hacked, just like Yahoo, LinkedIn, eHarmony, Dropbox, PayPal, Apple iCloud, Google, and of course we mentioned Yahoo. Then there's large retailers, Home Depot, Neiman Marcus, Dairy Queen, and the one we're all familiar with, Target. Then there have been government agencies like the Pentagon that have been hacked. And then you have professional service providers like your accounting offices, law offices. So, information is available when it's online. It just takes the person who has the skill set and the knowledge and the time to gain access to that information. So the fact of the matter is, cyber insurance is very important because cyber liability is becoming a huge expense.
Yes, and also just to make people aware that this is going to cost Yahoo a lot of money, especially because they are in a contract with Verizon, who's actually interested in buying.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the company is worth $4.8 billion. Well, they were worth way more back then, but as the other social medias and Google came in, it started to branch that, but it's still a lot of value in it. Now it's going to give a leeway for Verizon to actually negotiate upon that information. But let's get back to cyber. So what is a cyber invasion? When does it occur? So a cyber invasion can actually occur from phishing information. That's when when somebody sends you an information from someone you work with. Let's say a bank sends you saying, well, your account is frozen, click here. Once you put in that information in that particular website, guess what? You're already giving these hackers your information. Mm-hmm. So there we go, you already hacked. Then malware phishing, which actually could be in a friend of yours, they could mask their email saying, well, Gary, look at this, download this because I have a picture of you from the past. Gary goes there, clicks on it, and there we go, you're already infected. Key loggers and screen loggers, they send you information and they hack into your key settings. That means they can see everything you're typing into the computer. And then there is also session hijacking, which basically means you may be on the website, that website freezes, and then you reload. By the time you reload, it's actually a new website and they're already hacking into your system. Mm-hmm. And then the web trojans. We all know that sometimes we click on a website and it redirects you to another pop-up. that is actually a hacking.
You know, another thing I wanted to touch on was the Target breach and the point of sale attacks. So with Target, Target was not actually the company that was hacked. One of their vendors was actually hacked. And the vendor being hacked allowed the hacker to gain access to Target's systems. And so as people would swipe their card at Target, their credit card information was automatically being sent back to the hacker. So think about that. They've hacked the system all the way to the cash register.
Yeah, and let's not forget that also this year was implemented the chip cards,
yes.
Especially because of that, because sometimes the bank had the blink where you could blink, and that's how they actually were able to get into their system because of the blinking system. So now you have to go through a chip, supposedly safer, but you know, as technology progresses, they're going to be able to find breaches through that. Anything and everything is breachable if you do not take the proper precautions.
Right. Now, I'm going to tell you something really quickly. A friend of mine had his information hacked. They sent him a new credit card with the chip. When he got the card with the chip, it was already compromised.
Wow. So you see, there's always a window.
The most secure card with the chip was compromised when he received it in the mail. So they had to send him a second one, or this will be a third card now, to try to counteract that. So again, cyber insurance is very important. Now, Sarah, let me ask a question. Many companies have liability insurance, right?
Yes, they do.
So how does general liability insurance address cyber breaches?
Well, actually, everyone has to see, you know, your insurance coverage as a contract. Every contract, there are exclusions. General liability excludes any type of cyber coverage. There is an exclusion in most policy coverage. There are very few companies that actually have them, but it's so low that you won't even be able to afford them.
Right.
You know, if actually a loss occurs. So let's go back a little bit. General liability only covers you for bodily injuries and property damage. It also covers you for reputation harm, and also advertising error, medical payments, and damage to premises. It does not cover you for any cyber liability. So if information about your clients get out there, if you do not have cyber liability, you're going to be on the hook for that, because most likely your claims will be declined altogether. Yes. Because it's not covered. Okay.
Now let me touch on something. So I've seen several general liability policies that do offer some small amount of coverage for cyber breach, but it's very, very minuscule, and it is not going to cover you to the dollar amount you need. So let's look at some of the laws that have been put in place that address cyber insurance. So the first one is the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. It's federal laws concerning financial institutions and the safeguarding of customer information. The next law is the HIPAA law. Federal rules for governing how personal health care information is safeguarded. And then finally we have high tech, which is another current law that was implemented. And it's notification of parties affected within 60 days of a personal health care information breach. So there are many rules and regulations in place right now that are set to govern how companies are to manage themselves when their information is breached.
Also, let's just remember as well that in New York, at least in the New York State, there are penalties for cyber liability.
Yes.
So if there are penalties, they are actually changing the laws around that would actually, you would have to pay a fine to the state of New York just for having a cyber breach in which your clients were caught in the middle. So therefore, and it is also a 60-day period where you have to report to the state of New York. So they're kind of like, New York is actually trying to protect the consumers,
yes,
but the business owners are actually going to be left having to pay all of that.
Yes.
So go ahead. So you have a life cycle for breach?
Yes. So many people don't understand how these cyber breaches can have an impact on your business, especially mid-sized businesses. So let me just give you a little statistical data. The average cost per record breached is about $206. The average mid-sized business that is breached is out of business within 6 months. Okay? the average breach isn't detected until at least a year has passed. So you've been breached in February, and you don't discover this breach until next year. So now let's look at the life cycle of how a cyber breach takes place. So first there's the discovery of the breach. Uh-oh, something happened. Then you must investigate and remediate the breach, which is an expense to a small business or mid-sized business or large business for that matter.
Yeah, because you have to hire someone to
come
actually
in.
go into. Actually, you're going to have to hire another hacker or someone who is an expert. They are also known,
Right.
you know, they study all of this. They know how to get into the system to find out when the breach actually happened.
Yep, and when it happened. Then you have to assemble an internal response team. And you must employ people to now, not only if you found what happened, you must put a policy in place to prevent it from happening again. Then you have to contact law enforcement if applicable. Well, then you must make public announcements.
Which is on TV.
Yes, tell everybody what happened. You must offer 1 year of security identity theft protection to each client whose record was breached. You must also have a team in place to respond to any email and phone call notifications from clients like, hey, you guys got me breached. You know, I got this from my accountant. I got this from my bank. You know, what's going on? And then you must, you know, put these things in place and then get back to a point where you can resume business normally. Now, when your business is compromised by a cyber breach, two things can happen. You know, one, you're going to have a huge expense because you must remedy this. But secondly, your reputation can be damaged as a business entity because now your clients are not as trusting of as giving your information or giving you their information. So these are very important keys that having cyber insurance will help you remedy. And it will not be an out-of-pocket expense for your business.
Yeah, and let's go back a little bit with some facts about losses. So since this is based on a record from 2014, just in 2014, an estimate of $110 billion is estimated in cyber breach per year.
Wow.
And this coming out of the tax dollars of average people. This is our tax money going into these to cover all these losses. 15 million of them is the number of Americans who have the identity stolen in a year. And then 1.5 million victims of cyber crime per day, which is basically they hold your information hostage, pay me money, I won't release it to the public or to whoever, your loved ones or however. 73% of Americans have already stated that they encountered attempt internet breach. So, and then let's go a little bit further. 43% of businesses in the U.S. Have experienced cyber breach since 2014. Wow. 43%. That's close to a half.
Wow.
And then, according to the SENS Institute, 95% of the attacks occurred through email phishing. So, a lot of people do not know that these things are happening, and you know it could have happened to you personally.
That's right. So let's look at a couple of examples of cyber liability claims. Okay, the first one we're going to talk about is extortion. This happened maybe a year ago. The entire database of a hospital records was remotely encrypted by a hacker. The hacker demanded $1 million in bitcoins. Bitcoins, because it couldn't be traced, right? For the encryption key. So the hospital now, their records are on freeze. They can't look at any of their, patients' hospital records unless they get the money to this hacker to encrypt their records. So what did they do? They called the FBI. What did the FBI do? They told them to pay the claim.
Yeah, they don't know. Even the FBI do not know how to counter and interact because it happens so fast. And it actually was dire, for the hospital to get that information back, because otherwise patients were leaning on that. There were medications in there. There were probably dosage that they
surgical information, things like that. So it's very important. Now, if they had a cyber policy with ransom coverage, then guess what? You send this information to your cyber insurance company. They send their claims adjuster out, and they pay the claim. to get your records released. If you don't have cyber insurance, then guess what? In order for your records to be released, you have to write your own check. And that can be really expensive if you're a business. Let's look at another situation. A large internet service provider is hacked by several hackers. They implanted hate symbols on several web pages and used a denial of service attack to prevent customers from accessing sites. The ISP was shut down for over 12 hours. So think about this. You have an internet service provider hosting your company's website. Your customers, the internet service provider gets hacked, and so the hackers begin placing hate symbols and things on the websites that this internet service provider is is hosting. So you come to work one day and you look at your company's website, and your company's website is being hosted by this internet service provider. You go on your website, you can't get in, you see all kind of hate symbols and rhetoric that no one in your company had posted. What do you think is going to happen when your customers see that?
Well, they will lose faith in you,
They
first
lose
of
faith
all,
in you.
because they think it's coming from you.
That's right. And who's actually responsible for that? The internet service provider. So that's a suit that you would have to place against the internet service provider. If you had cyber insurance, then guess what? You go to your own cyber insurance company, file the claim, they compensate you to replace whatever information was damaged, and then they're going to subrogate after the internet service provider to get the money back. So for you, it's less time consuming if you have your own policy in place to address cyber insurance needs. Let's look at the last scenario. Another example of cyber. As we think about cyber online all the time, let's look at this. A retail company has 2 employees running a credit card skimming scam that goes undiscovered for several months. When it is finally discovered, these employees are long gone. Over 1,000 cards were skimmed, costing the company over $500,000 in legal fees and debt. Think about what credit card skimming is. You hand your credit card to someone and they replicate or duplicate the magnetic chip on your card and create a clone credit card from your information. So again, these things are all out there and can happen, and that's why cyber insurance is so important. So what we want to do is, if you are a customer, a client, a business, and you're interested in learning more about cyber insurance, please give Fountain Risk Management a call. Our number is listed on the page. Give us a call at 212-608-6958 or send us an email at info@fountainrm.com. We would love to talk to you more about your cyber insurance needs and kind of look at your business to see what type of cyber exposures you have.
Yeah, and then stay tuned. We're still going to come out with more informational videos that will entail in protecting you as a consumer in order for in case a loss like this happens, you are going to be correctly covered. Remember, insurance is contract. In every contract there is a do and there's a don't, and there are things that you cannot do or can't be done in that policy. So we know what we are talking about. We want you, if you have any questions, any concerns, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to help you.
Yes. So don't forget, like our Facebook page, see us on LinkedIn, and thank you again.
And share our videos online.
Please share our videos with your friends. Thank you and have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.